This is my basement shop air compressor, and it works well. And I have a hose reel for it, which I've done a video on the holder for the hose reel, and that allows me to get anywhere in the basement with the hose. And it's actually long enough to go all the way around and out the door and into the backyard. And I also have a much larger air compressor and a much quieter one out in the garage, but it's designed for indoor use, and it's not supposed to be exposed to cold temperatures anywhere near freezing or below. It'll be damaged if you try operating it that way, so it doesn't get used in the winter or the colder months. Some of the main things I use the air hose for, besides just blowing dust off of things and operating a few pneumatic tools in my basement, especially my brad nailer and my pin nailer, ones that I use a lot. I also have a broken rivet tool that's pneumatically powered. One of the things that I use it for besides that stuff is to blow the filters out of my shop vac filters, so I can, when the vacuum starts dropping off, I need to clean them. And I usually knock most of the dust off, then I take the remaining still dirty filter or filters out into the backyard and blow them out and get them nice and clean. And I have to do that often enough that it's kind of a pain to do it, dragging that hose out and everything, dragging it around all the equipment to get it out the door. And I've been thinking for a while now that I should do something to improve that. Meanwhile, I use the air compressor in the garage to keep my van tires inflated. The aluminum rims are really corroded on it, and there's just no way to get a good seal, so I have to top those off fairly often. I hate having to go to the gas station and go in and request a stack of quarters to run the machine and all that stuff. So if it's not the winter, I use the air compressor in the garage to do that, and also to put air in my Catrike tires and the tires that I use on various hand carts and stuff like that. And I kept thinking, boy, it'd be nice to just have an auxiliary air tank that I can keep charged up here and then take that out into the middle of the backyard, not have to drag a hose out. I can charge it up in here and then take it out if I need to put air in tires. So to that end, I bought something new, and that's what this video is about. I looked at a lot of different brands, the big box stores, Harbor Freight, and lots of others, and an awful lot of these tanks are really small. They're like 3 to 5 gallons and so on. I thought that's just a little bit too small for my needs. I'd have to go back in and recharge the tank halfway through one of the jobs, and I also didn't want a monstrosity. It had to be reasonably big without being too big. And I settled kind of, I don't know, just by eyeballing them in the store on the 7-gallon model. This one's Kobalt. That's the house brand of Lowe's. And I don't have a Lowe's near me, but I do have a Menards and a Home Depot, and they didn't have them either at all, or the ones they had were too small or too large. But this Lowe's one, with its 7-gallon capacity, seemed like the best one, and Kobalt seems to have a decent reputation from what I've read. My brother swears by them. I think almost all his tools are Kobalts. So it's a multi-purpose air tank, portable inflation solution for when a compressor is unavailable. Expand compressor capacity by adding an air tank in line between the compressor and tools. So if, for example, I was going to go up on my roof and use a nailer, I could drag the hose out from my air compressor in the garage or the basement, and it's actually long enough to make it up onto the roof, and I could put this thing up on the roof and keep it charged. It would act as a buffer or a local reservoir, and then the air tool could be run off of that, and it would make the whole thing work better. Another thing about the reason I picked this one is a lot of these tanks are limited to about 130 psi. Some of the tools I have work better at a little higher pressures. So I like the fact this is 185 psi. And you can fill it through an air hose inlet or through a Schrader valve. That's all well and good, I hope. What else do we have? So it has a gauge, so you can tell what the pressure in the tank is. It's got a carrying handle. It comes with a 1/4 inch industrial style quick disconnect or quick connect. Built-in drain valve to purge air and condensation. Comes with a 4-foot hose with a ball chuck to inflate car tires and some kinds of bicycle tires, and then it repeats the PSI in the gallons. That's about all it says. So opening the box, this is the little 4-foot hose it comes with. It has the industrial style quick disconnect or coupling. And I've mentioned in a couple other videos that there are different styles that, if you don't pay close attention, you might get one of the military types, the so-called true flate or automotive style. They all look similar, but there's little differences in this area, and they're generally not compatible with each other, unless there might be some universal couplings that'll work with more than one kind. But everything I have uses the industrial kind, and I'm glad that they A, came with the industrial style fitting on this tank, and B, actually say so on the outside of the box. So many of the other fittings you see don't mention what kind they are, and if they're in a box you can't tell till you open up the box. And then it's got the little ball fitting to inflate Schrader style tires and other things. There's something of a printed manual. That's good. So there we go. It's very lightweight. I thought it would be heavier than that. And the rest is just styrofoam. Good. So they repeat the same information. Maximum pressure is 185 psi. If you put more in there, it may blow up and kill you. Burst hazard. Warning, drain tank daily. So it's not something you want to keep charged up necessarily. You want to charge it before you have a use for it. Although, honestly, I don't know if I would worry about that much. People don't tend to drain their air compressors either. I don't think this is any worse. Yeah, it wears them out quicker. If you don't, you get rust quicker and leaks and other failures quicker. So here's the stuff that comes with it. This is your emergency overpressure valve that'll let pressure out, or you can pull it to bleed pressure. It has the industrial style receptacle here, quick disconnect, and the industrial style quick disconnect for the other end. So you're supposed to put air in here and take it out here. And there's also the Schrader valve, which you can put air into it using that. So if you, for example, if you don't have an air compressor at home, but you needed something like this, you could take it to a place that has an air compressor, such as a gas station, and hook it up here and charge it that way. A number of the other tanks I found, instead of the Schrader valve, and instead of, well, they might have this end, but they wouldn't have this end. Instead, they would have a fitting that is a barbed fitting, and it's really for, I think, more like putting air into kiddies' swimming pools or beach balls and things like that. Not what I wanted. Not that I couldn't convert it, but this one is one of the ones I found that had, right out of the box, the fittings I wanted. I'm going to use on both ends, so that's a big plus. Now, this isn't everything I wanted with this. I needed to get some accessories. So while I was in the store picking this up, and you may ask, what did this thing cost? Oh, that's a McDonald's thing. That's not even. It's not even the receipt that I need. This is a blow-off tool. I already have one on each of my air compressors, but I thought this tank should have its own. So once again, I picked the Kobalt one because it was there. And the inflator gun, so for inflating tires. So it's got the bleed valve. It's got the trigger to put air into the tire. It does not have a quick disconnect on it. It does have the Schrader compatible inflation head, but it's not the ball valve or the ball head. And it has a gauge to tell you what the pressure is in your tire. I thought that would be very important and convenient to have. And here's the old blow-off tool from my basement air compressor. I took it along just to make sure that I matched up the type of quick disconnect that I'm using. In case they didn't say on the packaging, I could just look at it and figure out that way. So the inflator gauge was about $23. The blowgun was about $6. I got a couple of other pieces that are rattling around here loose. Another is a 1/4 inch to industrial quick disconnect male. And here's another one. That's to go into here and into here. And the actual compressor itself was about $66. So altogether I spent about $100 on the air tank and this kit here. All those parts. But since I'm not using this, probably I'm going to be using this instead. This does not come with a hose, and this is a pre-made assembly. I can't use this hose with this. Guess what? Lowe's doesn't sell air hoses unless you want to buy at least 50 feet of air hose. So on Amazon, I bought a short whip hose. It's a 3/8 inch rubber 6-foot long hose. That's going to be good for blowing out the filters, and it'll be long enough to use with either of these tools. I don't think I need to get more than 6 feet away from this air tank. This is a quality hose. I've got Goodyear rubber on my outdoor air compressor everywhere, and it's good quality stuff. To go with this, since this has 1/4 inch fittings at each end, I bought one of these industrial style plugs again, just like these, but this is for the air hose, and it's got the female 1/4 inch NPT. I had to buy a pack of 2 that didn't have singles, and then a single of the female of the species, the industrial style coupler with the female 1/4 inch. So I've got one of those quick disconnects, the brass ones, stuck into the inflator. I'm going to do a pressure test to make sure it doesn't leak. Seems to be. Can't hear any hissing put next to my ear. And then this one can be used to let air out of a tire or to reset the gauge. Alright, that's good. Likewise, I put the male quick disconnect into the blow-off tool, and it goes into there nicely. And the male and female quick disconnects are on the whip hose. No leaks. That's all good. Okay, let's try this guy out. This is from my air compressor. So the gauge for the output pressure on the compressor says 120, and that's about what I've got here, about 120. I don't really need quite that much, but that's fine. So at this point I can just disconnect the air compressor from the tank, and it's holding that pressure. Now I can take my whip hose and see if I can do this one-handed. Maybe not. That's going to be difficult. Yeah, there we go. So that's connected, and got the blow-off tool. But there's enough capacity in this tank to fill quite a few tires. Unfortunately, they recommend that to bleed the tank, you don't just open it up. You're supposed to drop the pressure to around 30 psi before you do that. Yeah, it's around 50 and it wanted to close, so let's see what happens here. Tank's dry. I think that's successful. I think that'll be nice and useful for my application, but I am going to charge it back up and take it out and blow out the filter on that guy before I finish this video. So yeah, the way I usually clean these filters is I take them out and I just bang them down and turn them around on the floor till most of the, in this case I've got some foam from polyethylene foam from the case I made recently, plus a lot of the sawdust. And then I just use a dustpan to scoop that up and put it back into the bin there, and when that gets a little fuller, then I dump that whole thing into a trash bag. Then I have to go and blow this out the rest of the way.